Hello and welcome to Downtime Podcast, episode 148 with Alyssa and Jeremy. Wow, today is a long time coming, to say the least. It's
It's November, and we're going to talk about a game that we played in June and July.
let's just say the reasoning is because it's 2020.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, pretty much. Today, we are going to talk about The Last of Us 2, which we both played 4 to 5 months ago, and we're here to finally talk about it. And this is a spoiler cast, so we're going to be talking mostly or fully about the main storyline. So if you haven't played the game yet and you don't want to know what the story is, this is, as I'm saying this speech, this is your time to, maybe shut the podcast off, go to a different episode, leave, listen to something else, watch TV. I've given you maybe 10 seconds at this point to give you a warning that there's going to be spoilers.
Also, the title of this episode should be enough indication that this is a spoiler cast, as maybe some of our longtime fans have known that this is not something that you listen to before you play the game.
Yes, pretty much. So, we are going to call it. We're going to start talking. And all right. We're in the spoiler zone.
Ooh, spoiler alert. All right. Well, there's a lot of things that are very controversial about this game. Starting with, Joel's death, Ellie's decisions, being basically Joel's killer for half, if not more than half the game, and getting both perspectives. And the whole time my brother and I were playing this, and I'm kind of reiterating what I've said initially on a previous podcast with you, Elisa, but my brother watched me play the entire game, so he definitely saw all of it, even though he wasn't like playing as any of the characters. He was still experiencing it with me, so it was nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of and bounce opinions off of. And the whole time we were like, why is this game so controversial? Because we were kept in the dark, and we wanted to be in the dark for so long. And understanding it now, I could see why people are so mad. But I don't know, maybe you can agree with me on this, Elisa, but I overall liked it. I generally liked the game. I thought it had a good story. I had good gameplay.
This is not my favorite game, but I thought this was fine. Like, I didn't hate it. This isn't my favorite Naughty Dog game, but I thought it was totally fine. Like,
yeah.
In general, like, my issues didn't go off one spectrum or another that this game has received by most of its fan base. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I thought it was also just okay. Like it was.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but I do realize that it builds off of what the first game laid its foundations on, and I think this is probably one of the only directions it could have gone in.
I think that they took a very interesting risk with the way they told the story, the narrative they were going for. One of the most controversial things of the game, of course, that you talked about was that you play as Abby. Sometimes I felt like I was playing with Abby more than I was playing with Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it felt 40-60. And it wasn't even kind of like a concrete, you were constantly going back and forth, playing Abby and Ellie. You played long chunks of game with Ellie and Abby, and even if they were in the same room or they were both having a confrontation with each other, you had to play with only one of them, and you never really got to understand the other person's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was an interesting move, for sure. The fact that when they were going back and forth between the characters, it wasn't more constant.
Right.
it was for long periods of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I feel the same way. And I think I was a good audience for this game. And I think in general for video games, if I'm enough invested into the storyline, I feel like I really get into what the game's about. And playing The Last of Us Part 2, it was definitely a roller coaster. And there are a lot of people that played the game who definitely were emotional throughout it, because I definitely was, but they still didn't like it because of, the way it portrayed the characters. So in my case, playing it, the whole time I was like, okay, Ellie's gonna fuck some shit up. She's gonna get revenge. She's gonna fucking kill Abby. It's gonna be a bloodbath, and it's gonna be awesome. And the whole time in the first part that I was playing as Ellie, I was like, I'm out here. I'm doing this shit. And then when it suddenly switched over to Abby, I'm like, holy fuck, wait a second. She just killed my boy Jesse. What the fuck? And I don't want to be this fucking idiot. Like, I don't want to keep playing as her. Like, I hate this. I really don't like it. And over time, I came to understand Abby as a person and her motives and her character. And I think that is what the devs wanted us to feel, was to feel like that sense of sympathy for Abby's side, because there's always two sides to one coin, right? Like, Ellie's actions ultimately had repercussions, and Joel's actions and Ellie's actions had repercussions. Joel killing Abby's father, and the result of that, Abby being so like revengeful and continuing on the story.
Yes.
Abby's evolution and ultimate her ultimate like good side came out in her character, and because she wasn't all bad. And and just like real life, nobody's perfect in this game. Everyone's human, and they make human choices, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful game.
When Abby kills Joel, like, that was like the shocker for me. It was like, oh shit, I need to know how this game goes now, because you just killed Joel off. Not to mention, you killed Joel off, and I didn't even see some sort of resolution between Ellie and Joel. Because as a fan of The Last of Us 1, one of the first things that you're thinking of when you're about to play The Last of Us 2 is, oh my god, what's going to happen between Joel and Ellie? Because clearly there's some tension, because Joel thinks of Ellie as a daughter and saved her, and then Ellie thinks she's some sort of martyr and is just like, why did you save me? And you're just waiting for it, and you're like, all right, these two are going to talk about it, something's going to happen. And then they don't talk about it, and then Joel dies. And so it's like a very it was a very shocking thing for me, who wasn't expecting that perspective, that, oh crap, well, how is this like underlying theme gonna be solved or gonna be resolved if this just happened? And then the interesting thing is, it doesn't really resolve, because then you're just playing with Abby, like, in a lot of the main parts as well. So I think that if there's one, like I said, I don't mind the fact that we went back and forth with Abby, and we played with Abby as long chunks. I think the jarring thing was the whole Ellie and Joel thing didn't get resolved until, like, honestly, the very end, in that final cutscene with the guitar. And then at that point, it's just kind of like, huh, like, hold on, I feel like I have to talk about something else before I talk about that end scene.
Okay, yeah.
So going off of like the whole thing of like Ellie, like when she finds out the truth and everything, and how like she's really mad at Joel, and like has like awkward teenage like tension and all of these things, like, it basically, when Joel dies, she realized how much, honestly, like, how much she took him for granted, really. And not to say that like Joel like was also like may have taken Ellie for granted. I feel like that's what The Last of Us 1 is all about, really. Like, you know, their companions, he may have taken her for granted at some times, but at the end, like the ultimate sacrifice was Joel tried to save her in the end of The Last of Us 1. So in The Last of Us 2, when like basically when Joel dies, she goes on this whole like revenge spree. But then I think which makes sense. And for me, the disconnect was, I feel like what we were missing were just more conversations of like maybe like Ellie or Dina, or like just like a Ellie and a side character just talking about Joel. If that makes sense. Like somewhere in the middle of the story. Right. And Ellie offloading her feelings about it. Because at that point, we were playing with Abby so much that as a player, you're only really seeing Ellie as like a vengeful person, which is how we saw Abby at the beginning of the story too, technically. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think for me, what was missing was we just needed like some conversation of just like Ellie offloading her feelings like in a much more like, you know, grand way than just kind of like we find out in the end how she really feels.
Right. I feel like there were moments in the story where Dina was trying to poke at that, and she kept talking to Ellie, saying like, you know, like maybe there was something that she was basically trying to talk to Ellie about it. I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but I feel like there were moments when Ellie or Dina wanted to talk to Ellie about Joel, but then Ellie would just like brush it off, or she just didn't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
But, you know, I agree with you, but I also think that maybe Ellie didn't want to talk about it because it was all bottled up because she just wanted to maybe find the people that killed Joel first and then talk about it. Or maybe she was just like, she just wanted to be, you know, all macho about it and just hold it in because that's maybe how she only knew how to do it.
I think it's also the latter too. Like, because we see Ellie, she wants to be the hero in her own way and wants to be like a martyr, which is evident in the fact that she's so mad. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm so mad, like I was supposed to die.
Right.
And so yeah, I'd say it's definitely the latter with what you said.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just think that, yeah, based on Allie's like previous experiences, that's just how she is. But mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked that too, to have more of like a human moment where she does talk about her feelings. But I guess we'll never know. Well, we won't find out, right?
Yeah. That being said, since we were talking about like Ellie going back and forth, what I found really interesting was in one of the major fights that they had in the middle of the game, that you're playing as Abby and you're not playing as Ellie, or like they don't like do like you're switching back and forth between Ellie and Abby, like you're just actually like beating Ellie up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like an interesting move for the game, because I'm like, oh god, like it's so weird that I'm just like I get why they were doing it, because at that point they like Ellie became a vengeful person, that they wanted you to view her as that, but still I was just like, Jesus Christ, like I want to beat Abby up too, you know?
Yeah.
I don't just want to at this point in the game, I don't just want to play as Abby beating Ellie up. I also Abby's not a perfect person either.
Yeah, that was honestly a weird boss battle where you're Abby fighting Ellie, because I felt like I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I want Ellie to win. Because at that point, I was like, I hate Abby so much. I just want Ellie to win. And I died a couple times because, like, it wasn't easy. That boss fight for me wasn't easy. And I died a few times. I'm like, is this how it's supposed to end? But it would just reset me. I'm like, all right, well, we're not going down that easy, I guess. Yeah, that was cool. And when
I honestly really like, after thinking about it, at the time of like playing it live, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is like crazy. And then after thinking about it, it's like, that was cool. Like, I respect that move. I was like, I get why you did that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But like on the flip side, being Ellie and fighting Abby, like that was a whole other thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like at that point, you're like, where do your emotions lie? You know, like how do you feel?
I know.
But man, it's what an interesting story overall. The first Last of Us game I thought was very straightforward.
Yes, super straightforward. Like,
you knew, yeah.
You knew what was gonna happen, or like, sorry, you didn't know what was gonna happen, but it was very much like you're playing as Joel and Ellie. You're trying to get from point A to point B, and then misadventures in between.
Exactly, and the ending was happier in my opinion because, you know, the audience didn't want Ellie to die because we played that whole game with her and we had a whole journey. With this character that you grew to love, and at the beginning you don't know anything about these two, but over the course of the game you know almost everything about these two.
Yep.
And it ended with Joel taking Ellie away, and you're just like, okay, that's a happy ending, right? That's like a super happy ending. The Last of Us Part 2 is so different and radical in the sense that it takes that narrative and flips it upside down, and it twists and turns you, and I think that's what this needed. We don't need like an ending that everyone will be satisfied with. I think that's what makes this game good, is that everyone's going to be talking about it whether you liked it or not. It's so divisive. It's interesting that people are so divisive about the storyline because, you know, everyone grew up with these games. Everyone grew up playing The Last of Us 1 in the sense that they got so attached to Ellie and Joel, especially Joel, because you played as him throughout the whole game, the first game. And when he ultimately dies, people are just so upset, and I was too. But there are people who, like myself, play the game and are like, okay, what happens next? And I just want to keep playing and understanding what happens next and see where it all ends, because I know, in the bottom of my heart, I knew that it wasn't going to end in a quote unquote happy way that the first game ended, because the story overall isn't happy. to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But
I saw this really good I don't remember if it was another podcast I was listening to, or it was a Reddit. I don't remember what it was, but it was someone who was defending the decision to of the narrative and the story, and versus like us playing as Joel and Abby, and it was straightforward in The Last of Us 1, and we kind of saw them as like our protagonists. But it, like, the quote I heard, or the quote I read was, "You can be the villain in someone else's story," which is Abby in this case. And I thought that was a good way of kind of summing up this decision of the type of storytelling they chose for this.
Yeah. It's I think this is like the direction Naughty Dog is meant to go in, you know? Genre defining, I would say. And I mean, it's not perfect. And to kind of summarize like the game overall, I think like Donkey says it best. He released a video on November 6th, 2020 in reaction to his Last of Us 2 review. And all these like people started coming out and hating on his opinion. And so he made a video recently as of the recording of this podcast. And the quote from the video is, "The Last of Us 2 is a good story because it's memorable and dramatic. It's not an untouchable masterpiece. It's not perfect. It's just a good, entertaining story." And I agree with that. I mean, I remember a lot of this game, and there were a bunch of games I played this year. I can't tell you specific story beats, but there were a lot of story beats that I still remember from The Last of Us Part 2. Even though it's been 6 months or so, I still remember a lot of like the biggest moments, the big scenes, like, you know, like driving in the truck in Seattle with Jesse, or fighting that Rat King monster in the bottom of Seattle, going to Santa Monica.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, like, out of all the games I've played this year, that one stands out the most because it was just so different, and it wasn't happy.
Yes. By the way, real quick, fuck the Rat King. Oh my God.
That was so fucking scary.
I played this game on like the easiest level, but like this, God, one of the worst villains, one of the worst looking villains ever in my entire life. That shit gives you nightmares.
Well, that's literally nightmare fuel. I wanted to kill that thing and just leave. It was like there were like other sub enemies like coming off of it. That was disgusting. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, it's, oh my God. That was an interesting boss battle. It was cool, and I understand like its placement in the story because that was technically ground zero, and I guess that's also patient zero, or maybe a bunch of patients, including patient zero.
Yeah.
It was horrifying, but holy shit,
right?
Was that thing? How do you forget that thing? You know, especially when you were like in the ambulance, and I'm like, what the fuck is that thing behind me? Oh my God, I was so scared.
Yeah.
Oh.
Never again. Never again.
Yeah. I mean, I would also like to put your statement to the game as a whole, Alyssa. They did come out with an update to add like a harder difficulty and a bunch of other little small details to play the game for replayability, but in my personal opinion, I don't think that's a game I'm going to play ever again. I don't think it's a game I'm going to replay. It's like certain movies that you watch. For me, like a movie would be like the Joker movie that came out. I don't think I ever want to watch that movie again. It's not happy. It's not something that, in my opinion, I need to watch, or like I feel like I need to watch. But like, I guess it's just I think overall it's just because of the way it made me feel. The Last of Us 2.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, The Last of Us 2 was not a happy experience from the beginning and the end, and I just feel like I don't have the emotional capacity to go through that whole thing again. That being said, I'm okay with watching someone play it for the first time. Quick aside, friend of the podcast, DJB, is playing that game right now on his stream. Not literally right now, but like he'll play it occasionally on his stream, and he's playing it for the first time, and I'll catch it and I'll just watch him play it. And it's interesting how, you know, other people are experiencing it for the first time and talking about it and having their opinion, because I'm just curious to see what kind of people agree with the game and what people don't, because, you know, it seems, in my opinion, it seems like there's a lot of people that don't agree with the game, and that's okay. That's okay, but like, I just want to know why.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, that being said, like, gameplay wise, Alyssa, how did you find the game?
Well, like I said, y'all, I played this on the easiest level, but that being said, if you know me, I never ever play stealth games ever. So even playing on easy is hard for me because I'm just not good at stealth at all. So, but other than that, I like the gameplay. It was not like, honestly, it was just more or less exactly the same as The Last of Us 1 with a few like tweaks, and it's like a little bit better in terms of the movement and the crafting system and everything. Yeah. Fuck zombies. And yeah, there's honestly not much to really say about like it was. If you play Naughty Dog games, you can kind of know what to expect with the UI, and I thought it was perfectly fine, and I had no issues with the gameplay.
Yeah, I agree. I did die a lot, that being said, but I don't know, maybe for me personally, it was harder to aim on the PS4 controller and just on controllers in general, since I'm so used to playing shooters, third person, first person, what have you on the PC. So it took a lot of adjusting for me to get used to the controls. I eventually did get better, but it was rough in the beginning to try to aim a lot. Maybe I should have changed the sensitivity, but I was just so engrossed in the story that I needed to continue on.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, it was fun though. I personally liked the stealth mechanics. It got a little bit harder towards the end. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I thought it was so cool going through Seattle, doing a lot of the mapping missions where you're just going through each of the locations, and you're just trying to get to know everything, and then once in a while you have to fight a zombie, and you're like, I got this, I can handle this clicker. And then as the game progresses, I'm like, nope, oh, someone play this game for me, I don't want to play this game anymore.
Yeah,
this is so hard.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah,
I definitely died a lot to clickers. And
oh yeah.
Not to the average zombies. There were times when I almost got swarmed.
They're the worst ones. Clickers are the worst ones.
They are.
But not as bad as Rat King, to be clear.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Good lord.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
My next point's not is back to storyline and not gameplay.
Oh,
if you still wanted to talk about gameplay.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to mention about gameplay stealth wise was when you go to the Scars Island, that whole segment where you're sneaking through the village was so I died quite a few times. And I would hide in the fields and the open field parts, and
yeah,
I would still get caught, but I would just reload a save and just go back and try to perfect the whole stealth mission part of it. And while it was fun, man, it was difficult.
So on the topic of scars and seraphites, God, I hope in a zombie apocalypse I never have to interact with any people, anyone like the seraphites.
Yeah.
It's one thing surviving in a zombie apocalypse, but then surviving a zombie apocalypse and a cult, oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
that whole a lot of storylines that have religious undertones to them make me uncomfortable in general.
Mm-hmm.
So playing with this, I was just like, oh Jesus, poor Yara.
Yeah, Lev and Yara. Oh man.
Yeah, I was like, poor Lev. Jesus.
Oh man, that was tough. That was really tough.
Yeah. That being said, yeah, pour one out for my girl Yara.
Oh.
That I wish she survived over Lev, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that I actually really liked that. I liked that segment a lot. With Abby, Yara, and Lev.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool because story-wise, it made you look at the WLF, the Washington Liberation Front, and the Seraphites, and they're basically the same. They kind of have very similar structures, similar beliefs. It's just they view one another as evil. I thought it was interesting how Abby was kind of that bridge when it came to Yara and Lev, and then they both understood each other. like how each other worked and how each other communicated. And, Abby killed both sides.
Yeah.
She killed Scars and WLF soldiers.
Which, if you think about it, is really the whole theme of the game, that we're all kind of the same, but sometimes we see but sometimes, like, under different circumstances, you're just the villain of my story. Like, honestly, Ellie and Abby are basically the same.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. Like, they're motivated. A family member of theirs died. They're motivated in some degree to revenge. They could have, like, lived regular lives. Like Ellie could have just, like, said fuck it and like just be with the baby and Dina, and like Abby, like, I don't even understand what was wrong with Abby and Owen, but she could have had a relationship and then she was just like, nope, I gotta kill people. So it just shows that like honestly, like all of these people were like all the same, but then when you're suddenly motivated by like revenge and violence, then everything just changes.
Yeah, it's true. That's the point a lot of people, I feel like, don't look at, is that it's a story about the same character in a sense. And if they just view Abby as like, oh, she's just a killer, I hate her, this game sucks. And it's like, well, you're not really seeing it for everything else that it is. Like, it's, yes, Abby did do terrible things, so did Ellie.
Yeah.
She killed a pregnant lady. Like, oh my god, that was terrible. And
that was wild.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh my god. I was like, what? We're doing this. Okay.
I know. Oh. And then also, I do just want to point out, like, a huge criticism that I see in the game is that just like Ellie, like, suddenly, like, just started killing people left and right, and she had like and like, because she was motivated by revenge, and like she had no remorse for anything, which, by the way, to an extent is true. It is part of the story. It is integral to the storyline that she had blinders on, but she was freaking out when she realized Owen's girlfriend was pregnant. Like, like she like Ellie, like, you know, everyone can be a monster, but like deep down inside, like Ellie was, you know, like she has a soft side. Like she freaked the fuck out when she saw that she was pregnant, and I was like, you see, like Ellie's not a bad person like everyone's like saying she is. It's just, you know, flawed. Yeah. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do in survival times.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Something kind of funny my brother brought up when I was playing the game. First Jesse dies, and then Yara dies, and he's like, man, both sides got Asians, and they both of them are dead now. I was like, that's true. Like, you grow so close to Jesse because he's so laid back, he's so chill, and you grow close to Yara because you kind of feel for her, you sympathize for her for like what she's going through. She's just protecting family, and then they both die. Yeah. They both die, and you're just like, oh man, these two awesome characters that I grew to like so much died. And you're like, ah, oh, fuck.
Yep.
But the story's just like, no, we're not stopping. We're gonna keep going. We gotta run. We gotta go. You know, like that's how I felt about Jesse and Yara's deaths. Like, especially like Yara with Jesse, it's like, oh shit, like he's dead. Like Abby's just pointing a gun. Like, all right, whoever comes out that door next, you know, you're dead as well. And then Yara's just like, she just dies in that like industrial area, and then you and Abby and Lev are like, oh fuck, we just gotta go, we gotta keep going. Like, there's no time to mourn, and there's no time for you as the player to think. You just have to keep going. You know, you're like, all right, I gotta fuck, one of my favorite characters is dead. I gotta keep going. I gotta build this gun out, or I gotta modify this, and I gotta get more ammo, search around the whole place, and I just gotta get out of here before fucking the Scars and WLF tear each other apart.
Yep. It's pretty much.
It's like you don't have time to process any of that. You're just on the go. You're just move.
Yeah. That really was the vibe too.
Yeah. And I bought into it. Not gonna lie. I was like, holy shit, like I need to pause the game, but I also don't because I want to keep going, you know?
Yeah. And They really do keep it going. A lot of the gameplay is just like you're running and you're being chased. So it's like at times you're literally just like, fuck, I can't pause this right now. I gotta get out of here.
Right? I'm just like, okay, one more chapter. And by the time I know it, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh, I gotta go to bed, but I want to see what happens next.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's just a testament to how engaged I was into the game and how invested I was into the characters.
Yeah. I know that like some people like were talking about how they were pushing like a LGBTQ agenda by making Lev a trans person. And then I mean like ultimately it comes down to like the type of environment you're raised in. Like, and we're from the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's pretty liberal. So like seeing that storyline is kind of like, okay, like
yeah,
like I didn't my reaction just because it's like this is the environment that I'm raised in. Like a lot of people were like freaking out of just like they're like trying to force this or like trying to do that, and I'm just like. This is just another story. So.
Yeah, no, I felt bad for Lev because they were basically banished because of that. And
yeah.
I didn't think about that as being something that the developers were pandering to. I was just like, damn, Lev, that's terrible. I feel bad for you. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, I didn't really think of it as an issue. I didn't really think of it as pandering until after I was reading comments of people being like, they're just pandering to the LGBTQ community. I don't like this game. I'm like, huh, that's a weird thing to make an excuse to why you don't like this game for. Like, okay.
I know.
If you say so.
I know. And the election just ended, and I just, I'm not going to go beyond that because there are a lot of people who just, like, if you're just not like raised in that type of environment or like you're unfamiliar with this type of thing, then like you think it's pandering automatically.
Right. And America's a big place, and usually the coasts of this country are where people have more, I guess, more opinions and more views on things. That's just how it is. You know, that's I don't know how to explain it. That's just, I guess, because port cities. I don't know. It just.
Yeah, it really is, though. I think. It's because if you're a port city, you're exposed to so many different cultures.
Right.
Due to the fact that back in the day, ships are going in and out. Like you're often like, and ships are still going in and out today. You're often like the hub for like airports, like because you're like the coast city to connect like the coast of like another continent. Yeah, so it's just like it makes sense.
You're right. Yeah.
Oh, and then real quick, like I on a different topic but about another side character. So like Nora, I remember seeing her in one of the teasers or trailers that they had. I don't know if it was like during a state of play or if it was during E3, but I remember when I was watching that trailer and they like showed like Ellie walking in on her, I was like, oh, who is that? Oh my gosh. And then I play the game and it turns out she's not that important.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, this is disappointing. How are you gonna tease this character and she's just another member of the Liberation Front? And I'm just like, okay.
You chase her for like a long time and then you end up being in the basement of that hospital, and I'm like, okay. And then like she just gets tortured by Ellie technically because the spores are just eating at her.
I know. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I thought that too. I was like, oh wow, Nora must be really important. Actually, she's just gonna die. Like, okay.
Yeah, no, really. After all of that stuff, I'm just like, fuck, who's Nora? And then like, okay. Here we are.
Yeah. But you bring up a good point in that I really like how the story kind of alludes to certain things from different characters' perspectives. So, for example, with Ellie, you go out to Seattle because Tommy left. And this whole time you're wondering, where's Tommy? What's he doing? Are we ever going to catch up to him? Because the whole first part of Ellie being in Seattle is she's trying to catch up to Tommy. Of course, her ultimate agenda is to get revenge for Joel, but she is still chasing Tommy. And you hear about it, and then you eventually, towards the end of the first chapter in Ellie's story, I'm sorry, not first chapter, but the first like section of her time in Seattle, you hear like some WLF soldiers are like, oh, we got a sniper down at the docks or the marina, and he's really, really good. And you're like, oh, that must be Tommy. And you never get to see any of that until you're Abby, and you find out, oh shit, Tommy was shooting at Abby this whole time. I thought that was really cool. And then,
like I said, I honestly liked the different perspectives. Like I said, I maybe would have made the chunks of how long you're playing in each perspective shorter each time, but like, you know, it's not this isn't my story to tell. So
yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
Speaking of Tommy, dude, this guy I'm convinced Tommy could be bitten by a zombie and he'd probably live and also have the cure inside of him. He got shot, he got all of these things, and Tommy is still alive. So, what the heck?
Oh my god, he got shot in the head.
And
exactly. He lived.
Yeah. Tommy got shot, and then yada yada, time passes. Oh, he just lost his eye. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
really?
That that was insane.
I was like, he probably should have died, honestly, because I don't see how you can come out of that one. But you know,
right? No, like that whole time, like that whole standoff with Ellie and Abby in the theater, and you know Tommy ultimately tries to go for her. I'm like, okay, they're not gonna kill Tommy. Like they can't. They already killed Joel. Why would they kill the other brother? She shoots him in the head. I'm like, right? Oh, I turn on my brother. I'm like, oh my god, he's dead. They killed him. I can't believe they killed both brothers in this game. And he comes back later. I'm like, oh my god, he's alive. How the hell did that happen? He should be dead. Like what the hell?
Oh my gosh.
That was insane. No, I believe you too. I think he could live through anything.
Like I said, he honestly has the cure inside of him. If you can survive a gunshot like that, oh boy, you probably also have the same blood that Ellie has. So, boy.
Yeah, but I will say, with Tommy, I did like how his character, changed at the very end. Like, a lot of people are like, well, I don't like how Tommy is now. He's so... I'm like, well, it does make sense story-wise. Like, he's still extremely revengeful. Maybe there's some brain damage that caused him to amplify his feelings a lot more as well. And like, I thought the game was over when we were at the farmhouse with Ellie, and then Tommy shows up, and it seems like Dina and Ellie have a really bad relationship with Tommy, or they kind of view him as like this weird, crazy guy. Turns out he kind of is. And in Jackson, he's like kind of separated from his wife now. And all he thinks about is revenge and getting back at the WLF for what they did to Tommy. I'm sorry, what they did to Joel. And then, I liked that part of Tommy. I thought that was interesting, and it was different. You know, for all the devs could have done, they could have made Tommy live. They could have had Abby just like smack him in the back of the head with a gun. He'd be knocked out. They didn't have to have Abby shoot him in the head, but like then he could have just been like, he still could have been crazy. But I think Tommy losing his eye and losing like his ability to walk a little bit kind of
it completely makes sense.
Yeah, it amplified his feelings to get more revenge because of what they did to him and his brother. So I was like, wow, they did Tommy dirty, but oh my god, what a story.
Oh yeah. I like honestly, like I know a lot of critics are questioning a lot of the motivations, and I'm just like, I don't know. The motivations kind of make sense to me. Like, and not to mention, you're on edge in a zombie apocalypse. Like, when you're in that type of environment and atmosphere, you're gonna freak out a lot more too. Like,
Yeah.
I think all the, like, I mean, sure, there's like a lot of gratuitous violence, like any other video game, but in my opinion, the motivations for people made sense.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, the ending, yeah, I thought they pulled a Uncharted 4 where they just like he's on a beach house and then that's the end. And then and then you're like, nope, not resolved yet. Turns out they pulled a Red Dead Redemption where you're on a farm and you're like, nope, the story's not over yet. So so I was like, oh, I'm really interested in where this goes. And then it's like, oh, we found Abby in like Santa Barbara.
Right.
And yeah, the one thing I wanted to point out in this is because there's a lot there's like a lot you can say that like people have probably already said, but I don't blame Dina in any way for like yeeting the fuck out of there after, because it's like so many, like a year or whatever has passed, like you think that like your life's back to normal and you have this kid, and then it turns out that like your girlfriend is still like super vengeful and like still like hasn't resolved her issues. And I was just like, honestly, I feel it. I get it, Dina. Like, it sucks, but I get why you left.
Right? I mean, Ellie put her through that. It's like,
yeah,
the first time they went together, and then Dina was like, I'm not feeling well, I'm pregnant, and then Ellie's like, all right, well, we got to go back. And then, they didn't accomplish their mission, but they did do a lot of significant things. And then they finally settled down. Dina's like, all right, this is all in the past. We don't have to, there's no revenge anymore. It's all good. And then Ellie's like, I got to go do my thing. And Dina's like, wait a second, what about our life? We have a kid. And Ellie's like, nah, yeah. I gotta go. Like, I gotta do this. And then Dina's like, if you go there, you're not gonna have a house to come back to. It's just like, oh shit.
It's like this relationship is over.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
And I
totally get it though. I get it. I completely understand.
Yeah. And well, on the flip side, with Abby's story, we did get a happy ending that it doesn't show exactly what happened, but the implication is there on the main menu screen, showing the shore, showing the beach and I guess what is that, Catalina Island, with the casino or whatever, or the hotel, and it's implied that Abby and Lev made it to the Fireflies.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, like, I don't know if you felt this way, but when we finally got to this new Ellie and Abby scene, I knew that Ellie wasn't going to kill Abby purely by the fact because in the other fight scene, Abby didn't kill Ellie.
Yeah.
It was not a surprise to me that they both didn't kill each other in the end, like in either of their fights.
But I would have been okay if one of them died.
Yeah.
I would have been okay if Ellie died. I feel like maybe the only reason why I feel like she would die was maybe she thought that there was too much pain and she caused her life too much pain, and then she was like, you know what? I just can't deal with this anymore. Like, I can't deal with Joel being gone. Like, maybe I want to be with him. Like, maybe that's how she felt. But and on the flip side, Abby, if she had died, I would have been like, okay, I understand that Abby wanted to atone for something, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But seeing both of them still live and seeing Ellie go back to an empty house, that was really sad. But it did close her narrative. There's nothing else There's nothing else we could do with Ellie. There's nothing we could talk about because it's over. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And I kind of
Yeah, on that topic, then finally at the end, like I was talking about in the beginning of the podcast, it's like you finally like see this scene where Ellie actually forgave Joel in the end, or was like starting to forgive Joel, and I'm like, damn, so that's really how this ends?
Yeah. In her last moments about to stab Abby, she was thinking about Joel. I was like, oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was dope. I liked that they did it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But again, someone could have died, and I think that would have been okay.
For sure. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the game. I thought it was, honestly, like, I thought it was fine. Like, I had a good, I enjoyed my time playing it. Like, I don't regret it or anything.
Yeah, me too. I definitely felt like it was an experience that I didn't waste my time on. There are certain movies, certain games where I'm playing it and I'm like, why the hell am I playing this? Why am I watching this?
Yeah.
I could be doing something else. But this whole game, again, I have to keep reiterating this because I just felt so strongly. This is my strongest case for this game, which is I was glued to the story. I was hooked. I just wanted to keep playing it, and I think that's the sign of a good game. Like, if you're playing a game and you can like pause it and go away and then play it again the next day, like sure that is that's probably a fun game, but like, does it keep you hooked for hours at a time? Like this is the first time I've felt so strongly about like being hooked to a game since I played Yakuza 0 3 years ago, where that's all I thought about. That's all I wanted to do for like a whole week was just play Yakuza 0. With The Last of Us 2, I just wanted to know what happened next. I wanted to find all the collectibles. I wanted to like search every area. I wanted to explore everything and all of the places because one, I was so invested in the story, and two, I knew that I wasn't going to play this game ever again. So that's kind of why I just wanted to 100% it. I didn't 100% it, but I wanted to 100% it from the beginning because I had a feeling like this story's not going to be happy, and turns out it wasn't.
Yep.
But overall, I enjoyed the game. I thought the graphics were beautiful. It wasn't, mind-blowing, but like, of course, Naughty Dog is known for realistic graphics and having beautiful motion capture. And that was cool. And the story was good. It wasn't perfect. It was good. Gameplay was fun. It felt like a third-person action stealth shooter. And yeah, I thought it was just an overall fun experience, and it's something that I think a lot of people will be talking about for years to come. And whether or not they make a Last of Us 3, who knows? I don't know what it's going to be about, but that would be an interesting story to tell.
I feel like if they did another Last of Us 3, it would just be about a completely different like group of people now.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want them to milk the franchise like they did with Uncharted. I think they pushed it too far with Uncharted 4. I was like, okay, Uncharted 4 was beautiful. It was amazing, but like, I don't know. It gave that happy ending, like action movie cliche, like story, and I was like, okay, this is good, But then they made like what Lost Legacy or something after that, which I have yet to play. And I was like, okay.
Which I've heard really good things about.
Yeah, me too. That's why I want to play it. But like, I don't know. It's like they just kept going with the Uncharted like series. I'm like, okay, like, this is cool. Yeah. I will say, to add on to The Last of Us 2, the girl that did the face model for Dina, she is actually playing the game right now on her YouTube channel. And
oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and she started crying when she saw herself. Like it was a nice moment.
Aww,
she's like, "Oh my god,
that's so cool."
Yeah, and she's really enjoying it.
Yay!
She was like crying when Joel died. I was like, "Oh my god," because she like, in preparation for The Last of Us 2's release, she played through all of the first game and got so attached to everybody. And then when she played the second game, this is all this year, by the way, and I think she's still going through The Last of Us Part 2. Because after part 1 ended, she was so like emotionally drained. She's like, I need to take a break. And so she took like a couple months break, and then she started playing the second game, and then Joel died. And she's like, "Oh my god, what's going on? What the fuck?" So yeah, it's adorable. She's like smiling and like giddy whenever she's on screen. It's awesome. I love it.
Oh yeah.
I think her name is like Casina Cardona is her name. The woman who plays Tina. But yeah, it was dope. It's dope. So if you don't have the game, or if you want to watch it again for whatever reason, you can always check her out playing the game, because I think it's really cool that, you know, I think it's just cool seeing someone from the game play the game.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super dope. Yeah, I feel like we've exhausted this enough.
I think ultimately, because I like to rate, my rating, quote unquote, is just like, should you play it or should you not play it? I think you should play it.
Yeah.
I think that if you played The Last of Us 1 especially, you should play The Last of Us 2.
I agree.
Part 2. Sorry, y'all. Part 2. Have to say the part.
I'm going to add on to that. I agree with Elisa's statement. But I would like to emphasize that you should play it. If you have a chance, play the game. There are a lot of people that just like watch Let's Plays on YouTube. I feel like you don't have the same emotional investment that you do if you just watch someone else play it. I do understand maybe some audiences are different. Maybe you don't have access. Maybe you can't afford it. What have you. But at any point, like maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, maybe not this year, at any point, just try to find a time to play the game. It's good. It's really, really good. And it's not perfect, but make sure that you keep an open mind when you're playing the game. You know, I've met a couple people who were like, yeah, I hate the game. I don't like this. They're naming off really specific things and like certain beats and certain characters and elements. And I'm like, all right, well, like, how was playing the game overall? And they're like, oh, I didn't play it. I watched someone play it. I'm like, okay, I understand, but play the fucking game. Like, I get it. But like, I don't know. In my humble opinion, you should, if you're gonna have a really strong opinion about something, you should have firsthand experience from beginning to end. You know, like these are the people that go and look at the last page of a book and are like, okay, this is how it ends. It's like you didn't see the whole picture. Like maybe that's not a good example because you're watching the whole game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like if in the sense that a game is different from a movie, like in a game, you're always hands-on, you're always with that character, and I don't know, it's just holding the controller is kind of like an extension into the main character's psyche. They're just them as a person. Yes. And yeah, if you have a strong opinion about the game, just make sure you play it first. And I think that's justified. If you play the game and then you can tell me that you hate it.
No, I feel it on that one.
Yeah. I don't like it when people are like, yeah, I don't like the game. I also didn't play it. It's like, what? Then how do you have this opinion? Like, you have no right.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds like gatekeeping, but I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, it's really not gatekeeping because I'm not really telling you that, you know, all gamers should play The Last of Us 2. I don't know why it sounded like Trump, but like, yeah, like I'm not saying like if you haven't played The Last of Us 2, then you're a loser. Like I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you feel very strongly about the game, I encourage you to play it. That's all. But yeah. Any closing thoughts, Alyssa? Anything else?
I think that's all I have to say about the game.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to tell us how much you liked, were neutral, or hate the game, or if you don't agree with our opinions at all, you can go to www.Downtime.Live. You can click on the contact button, fill out that form that will send us an email the old-fashioned way. You can also just email us at contact@Downtime.Live, and we'll read your comment or question on the podcast. You can join our community Discord, where we talk about everything from video games, movies, TV shows, anime, music. If you click on the word community on our website, or if you go to wherever this podcast is hosted, click on the Discord link, and that will take you to our community. You can find this podcast hosted on YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher. Leave a comment wherever this podcast is hosted. We'll read it on the podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a review. We'll read that one on the podcast. We're also on Google Podcasts and now Spotify. So please find those links in the description of wherever this is hosted, and listen to our podcast.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, this was a big one. I felt like this was a long time coming, Alyssa.
Yes.
Just 2020 got in the way, and we just couldn't do it. But I'm happy we're able to talk about it. It's been a while since we did another spoiler cast, so I'm really happy about that. Hopefully we can have a spoiler cast about the new Yakuza game, and then eventually when you do Ghost of Tsushima, we can talk about that as well.
Totally.
So
sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to Downtime Podcast, episode 148. Have a good rest of your day. See ya.
Peace.